like it hard, some like it soft, some like it bouncy. Choosing a mattress is not a decision to be taken lightly, and why should it be when it's where we spend 1/3 of our life, or the amount of time spent sleeping? Along with diet and exercise, a good night's sleep is considered the third pillar of good health. Welcome to this week's show. Coming up, first up, they're more likely to sleep less and of poorer quality than the general population. We take a look at why blind people often suffer from a disorder described as like having never-ending jet lag. Next, Napoleon needed 4 hours, Einstein needed 11. Why do some people need more sleep than others? Scientists say our genes play a large part in determining how long we like to stay in bed. And finally, when sleeping disturbances are a sign of serious illness. We make a last stop in Central Africa, where 30,000 people die each year from sleeping sickness. Efforts are underway to control this neglected disease. Paris's Hôtel Dieu is one of the oldest hospitals in France and home to a leading sleep centre. Inside, researchers are working with a very particular type of patient, those who can't see. With no light to reset their body clock, many in the blind community have a sleep pattern that is totally out of sync with the rest of the world. We're here to discover a treatment that may just realign them with the 24-hour day. Last night, like all other nights, Claude slept on the couch. That way he doesn't disturb his wife. Since losing his vision, Claude also lost the pleasure of a good night's sleep.
At the moment, I wake up sometimes at midnight, 1 o'clock, and every hour I look at the time. My sleep is a little bit bizarre.
Claude has been blind for 30 years. His eyes no longer perceive any light, which means there's no difference between day and night. And therein lies the problem. Normally, when the sun sets at night, receptors in the eye note the absence of light and tell the brain to start producing melatonin, a hormone that makes us sleepy. The opposite happens in the morning. As the sun rises, the brain stops secreting melatonin in response to the light.
When someone is blind, the light is no longer a trigger. It no longer regulates the body clock, so blind people are often out of sync with the 24-hour cycle.
Professor Damien Leger sees this problem in the large majority of his blind patients. Here at the hospital Hôtel Dieu, Michel is a participant in a clinical trial to improve his disturbed sleep. Each evening at the same time, he takes a pill, a derivative of melatonin.
Has your life changed since you started taking the drug?
My life has completely changed, but in a good way. My nights are completely normal. I fall asleep 10 minutes after going to bed. I often sleep 6 hours straight without waking up.
Other non-pharmaceutical treatments already exist, such as light therapy. A rainbow of colours sends messages to the brain. For example, blue or white light inhibits the production of melatonin, while red does the opposite. It's not, however, for everyone.
Some blind patients who still have certain visual nerve cells can benefit from light therapy. We can treat those people. But for those who are completely blind, light therapy has no effect.
The technique has already been proven effective for those who do shift work or suffer regular jet lag, using artificial light to realign their biological clock. A levitating bed is the feature at this Parisian hotel, which does everything to ensure a magical night's sleep. But scientists say the trick behind a good rest may have less to do with our bed and more to do with our genes. For the first time, research has proven that we're all not biologically equal in our need for sleep, and the time needed between the sheets may be written into our DNA.
When it comes to sleep, each daughter in the Cuny family takes after a different parent.
I hear Dad snoring at 1 in the morning and then I'm awake. Sometimes it keeps me up for 2 hours.
I sleep very well. I don't hear my dad. I'm a very good sleeper. I don't have any difficulty falling asleep or waking up in the morning.
I don't know how she does it. I need to prepare for sleep. I read. I try to have something to do before falling asleep. If I wake up, I have trouble getting back to sleep, that's for sure.
Whether you sleep a lot or a little, it's probably in your genes. After studying the DNA of 10,000 people in Europe, researchers identified the gene that makes some people sleepier than others. 1 person in 5 has it. They need on average half an hour more sleep than people who don't have it.
The amount of sleep you need is 40% inherited from your parents. It varies depending on the person. There are people who sleep less than 6.5 hours and people who sleep more than 9.5 hours.
Researchers had already pinpointed the role of certain genes in sleep disorders like sleepwalking or night terrors. But the recent research has shed light on how healthy sleep is regulated by genes. If Napoleon Bonaparte famously needed only 4 hours of sleep a night, Albert Einstein couldn't function on less than 11. That doesn't mean the genius physicist was lazier. It was down to his genetic profile.
It's important to know if you are a short, medium, or long sleeper, an early bird or a night owl, so that you don't fight against your natural sleep pattern.
Unfortunately, working and family lives mean it's not always possible to get the amount of sleep you need when you need it.
I think I fight the fatigue with coffee and cigarettes. There's definitely an impact.
Eric Cuny's employer has put in place a program to help employees better manage their sleep.
1, 2, 3.
They learn relaxation techniques and how to take micronaps, mini snoozes just 1 to 5 minutes long that help keep you alert later on, and it's healthier than a shot of espresso.
We're at Paris's first and only siesta bar. The idea is simple. When you feel like a nap in the middle of the day, you can come here and switch off for up to 45 minutes in a private space. Well, this of course seems luxurious in many parts of Central Africa. The need to take a nap in the middle of the day is symptomatic of an infection known as sleeping sickness. Untreated, it inevitably leads to death, but researchers are hoping that recent drug developments could see the disease eradicated in the coming decades.
Every day after school, Bella helps her family around the house. But for the past few days, the 9-year-old has been acting strangely.
Sometimes when she's doing chores, she forgets or falls asleep. She sleeps too much.
Bella suffers from sleeping sickness. Luckily, doctors from the World Health Organization were in her area. They were alarmed by her symptoms, behavioral changes, and sleep disorders, and she was able to be treated in time.
If she had stayed in her village for 2 or 3 more months, she would not have survived, that's for sure.
In the region worst hit by the illness, Central Africa, most people don't know how to recognize the symptoms. Non-profits like Doctors Without Borders have set up awareness campaigns in remote areas. It's in these regions that the parasite that is behind the disease can be found.
This is a typical tsetse fly. So those are the carriers of the trypanosome parasite that bite people. And it's the blood that carries the parasite and it will get transferred into the blood of the human.
After entering the bloodstream, the parasite attacks the brain. Fatal if left untreated, it provokes a coma, a state from which the disease gets its name. Sleeping sickness is hard to diagnose, and it requires a grueling treatment of multiple injections and follow-up visits. French researchers are trying to change that. In this laboratory in Toulouse, they're working on a better way to cure the disease.
In this lab, we're researching a future treatment, a molecule that could be taken orally. This would decrease the number of days of treatment. The objective of the scientific community is to completely eradicate the sleeping sickness.
By the 1960s, the disease had almost disappeared, but it resurfaced because of a lack of attention. Today, even if there are under 10,000 cases each year, the disease is a threat to some 60 million people.
It's the perfect time for a siesta, which brings us to the end of this week's show. Thanks for joining us here on France 24. We look forward to seeing you, as always, next time.